Hi, America. My name is Savannah Lynn, and I'm the host of a political commentary podcast called The Savvy Truth. If you love God, love your family, and you love this country, you can tune in at Right American Media on Facebook or at ramtv.live. This podcast airs 7 Eastern and 6 Central.
Hey, this is Josh Barnes with Point of View, where we discuss the crucial questions that you have about the critical issues of our day from a biblical worldview. We believe that to be right about issues, you're going to have to be biblical about issues. Check out Point of View every Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. and every Tuesday night from 8 to 8:30 right here on Right America Media Network at ramtv.live. Join us for the next episode of Point of View and let the Bible change your perspective.
I'm Danny Watts Jr., producer of The Loaded Mic. I just wanted to let you know that you can find us at Simul TV, Right America Media, YouTube, and Rumble. You can also find the podcast at Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Or you can go to loadedmic.com. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a review.
Hey y'all, it's Savannah from The Savvy Truth with Right America Media. I'm just here to let all of y'all know that we are officially partnered with MyPillow. And so you know I'm telling the truth. Our discount code is RAM, capital R, capital A, capital M. So go use that code when you want to buy any of Mike Lindell's awesome sheets, awesome pillows, dog beds, towels, or whatever the heck you want to get. And our official MyPillow phone number is 800-867-0416. So please go use our code, go use our phone number, and go get some of Mike Lindell's awesome, all-American, made in America towels, sheets, dog beds, and pillows galore. So go check them out.
I am a raging patriot. Welcome to KSok Uncensored. Today we are focusing on Colorado. For those of you who are not aware, people who live in the state of Colorado, they say Colorado, not Colorado. My husband and I went rounds on this, and I was able to confirm with my guest today, I am correct. Colorado, like rad. Anyways, You're welcome. You're welcome for that. I want to dive into I'm going to share something that happened to me. I did the same thing last week, and I feel like that's the best way to really hit home what's happening in our country, especially here in the ultra blue state of Oregon. So this past Saturday, I attended a baby shower. Now, I won't go into too much detail on who was there, but this is what happened to me. As you guys know, I am not planning on getting vaccinated. I am not vaccinated concerning the COVID vaccine. So I went to this baby shower, and the first thing that I was asked upon entry by someone who was there was if I'm vaccinated. And I responded, no. And she then said, then you need to stay that far away from me. I'm like, okay. And, it's one of those things. I really felt like a leper. There were 25 women there, and I would say 5 of us were openly unvaccinated. And those that were hugging, and it was the weirdest interaction I have had in quite some time. I honestly felt that I should have been wearing, not that I ever will, but some type of indicator, not vaccinated, stop asking me. If you don't want to hug me, that is perfectly fine. I'm not really a hugger anyways. But I couldn't believe the audacity to just openly ask somebody that, and then to basically say, mind you, I'm co-hosting the event, and then basically say to stay away from them. Have you guys heard of shedding? Let's talk about that aspect of the COVID-19 vaccine. There is shedding, where just like dog dander, people have allergic reactions to the dog dander, cat dander, etc. Humans that have received this vaccine, they are shedding and sloughing off whatever, the skin cells that do contain elements of this vaccine and its contents. It is negatively impacting those who are not vaccinated in many ways. For women in particular, women are experiencing incredibly heavy menstrual cycles, skipped menstrual cycles, spotting, all sorts of reproductive issues, amongst many others, including heart issues, your internal organs. So this is a big deal. And, I personally felt like saying, how about you stay away from me, because you're shedding off your COVID vaccine right now, and I don't want any part of it. But I'll tell you what, it was frustrating. I kept it together. My friend's only going to have one baby shower in her entire life. And I decided to take the high road and be incredibly courteous given the situation. But it took everything I had in me not to go KSok Uncensored on them, because that was just so rude. And it truly made me think of Nazi Germany with the armbands and the indicators, the star indicators. So I truly feel like we are not that far away from that. And it was a sad experience, being that I knew 80% of the people at this event. Incredibly frustrating. So I'm just curious, and feel free to pop in the comments as you guys see. You see comments pop up. Is anybody else dealing with this, where you are ostracized for your personal decision? It is crazy, Chris, for your personal decision not to get vaccinated. I was just watching a video of a woman who, she was like, I was expecting at most to have flu symptoms, and she's paralyzed right now. It's just one of those things where it should be our own decision. And man, you know what? I guess I'm going to get a lot less hugs living around this area. And, that's just something I'm going to have to be okay with. But moving on, there was something really interesting that happened. So as you guys may or may not know, in the state of Oregon, especially in the Portland metro area, 15 counties, including the one I live in, because I neighbor Portland, we were put into extreme risk 1 week ago by our governor, Kate Brown. Now, what it did was it shut down gyms, restaurants. It brought the capacity to 6%. Very odd percentage. It's basically nobody. 6%. So that was supposed to go through the middle of June. Okay, so timeline. Damian Lillard on Tuesday, he tweets out at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He tweets out something to the effect of, are we going to be the only team in the league without fans in our stands? And within 4 hours, our governor made the decision to move these 15 counties out of high risk into moderate, bringing us up to, I believe, 36% capacity. I don't believe in consequences. And I was like, wait a minute, did Damian Lillard, did he single-handedly get our state reopened? That to me was pretty wild and sad. It's great on one level, but very sad on the other that that's what it takes to get somebody who is leading like a tyrant dictator to move into some normalcy. It takes a basketball player. Oh man, but you know what? Good for him for speaking out. When he posted that on his Twitter feed, he had a lot of different NBA players saying, yeah, that's crazy. I just played in Utah and we had 8,000 fans, etc. So I do feel like that put pressure on her, along with a lot of businesses not complying, to reopen 5 weeks ahead of time. So kudos to Damian Lillard. He is a well-regarded basketball player and athlete in the state of Oregon. We don't have many. You guys, the Blazers are the only show in town for the state of Oregon outside of college ball. But interesting set of circumstances there. Well, what I want to do is I want to jump into who our guest is today. And actually, I am so excited to have Derek on because as a creator, you'll see a lot of creators coming through and only a few or a dozen or so will resonate with you. And when I saw Derek's work, I was immediately like, oh my gosh, this person is my people. And you know what it was? I thought of Derek as the guy that you want in your class in high school because he's just going to have you in stitches like the whole time. I wasn't a class clown, but I definitely was like their wing woman, right? So I just love to be around someone with a great sense of humor. And I swear I'm his biggest fan. So I was so excited when he's from a state that I haven't highlighted yet, and 2, that he agreed to come on my show. So what I'd like to do is play a video for you guys so you can get a little taste of Derek's personality, and then we will bring him in.
Okay, there's no way this video is real. Let's watch this. There's no way that's real. Look at this woman. There's no way that's real. There's no way that's real. Look at that crap. No way. That's like something I would do as a joke. It's like funnier than anything SNL ever did this year. One more time. Look at that. I'm a teacher. Shout out to this woman who did this. I'm praying it's a joke, because good Lord, if it's not.
Oh my gosh. Hey, this is how big of a fan I am.
Stop. Before we get started, you're not vaccinated?
Do you want to hop off the call?
I'm done. I am done.
Oh my God.
No, let's get serious.
Oh yeah, wires. Oh my gosh, seriously. Like, okay, so I was so excited about making this hat, but this is like, clearly I don't have the gift. I went like Christopher Columbus. So,
yours
yeah,
is yours is huge. Okay, mine's little and does the job, and creates enough energy for me to have life force or whatever. So.
And
but yeah,
yours flattened That makes a lot more sense. Yeah. So I will do better. I will do better. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. You're awesome. Oh my gosh. Like anytime I need a laugh, which is often lately, I'm like searching you out and go watch what you post because you post every day, which is fantastic. Very consistent. So
I probably post too much. No, thank you. I post every day. I do a daily news show every day of just like all the news that I think is important to talk about. And then I also just do like reaction videos to press conferences or whatever propaganda video the White House puts out, their 1 minute propaganda film that they want you to show how good of job Biden's doing, or, you know, all that stuff that they put out so that you could just drink the Kool-Aid. And so that's why you got to wear these for safety.
Propaganda is the right word for that, for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Well, they're not informational. No, you seem fine to me. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, you are frozen. Anyways, nothing wrong with being frozen. Hey, you're back.
Yeah,
You're back.
maybe.
It's the big tech overlords.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, we're gonna shut you down. You better get on Clout Hub like now. That's the new. You know what? I don't know about you, but people keep saying, keep going. You just want clout. I'm getting like, that's the new hater thing right now. You just do this for clout, and I'm like, actually, no. I've been shadow banned for 6 months. My viewer base is not growing, but I still do it because I want to get the word out. So there's your evidence that I'm not trying to just get clout. That's frustrating.
Exactly.
But we know why they're saying that. They just anything to discourage. That's what it's about. So.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I feel like there are some content creators that seem like they are about clout and they are about punching down as opposed to be punching up. I would never make fun of somebody who has a smaller account than me or whatever. I just make fun of the politicians and news broadcasters. That's kind of my thing. Because they pretend like they know everything and they have all the right answers, and they're the only trusted source out there. So,
yeah. Oh yeah. You know it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. So Colorado, in the Denver area.
Yes. I'm in the Denver area.
Okay. Talk to me. Here's what's okay. I have to tell you, I go to a new state every year, and Colorado is next on my list, or has been. But I purposely haven't gone because I'm like, I am only giving red states my money right now. And so I'm so curious because in my opinion, Colorado is just so beautiful. And it has just all of the outdoor activities one could ever imagine. And I used to be naive and I would think more of the city states were the liberal little havens. And then I would think like the beautiful country-esque would be where conservatives were. Boy, was I wrong. But talk to me about why you feel Colorado is so blue.
Because of Denver, and just because of all the Californians that moved out here. I mean, that's what they say, but it's also just the Denver politics. It's very deep-seated, and there's a ton. It's just very heavily populated, so it controls most of the state's direction and where to go. And so, but I would say it's funny because we've talked about like splitting the southern half and the northern half, and because we have Fort Collins and Denver, and they're very liberal, and then we have Colorado Springs, where the University of the Air Force is down there, and then just even farther southern, and some of the smaller towns, mountain towns, and then also towards the east where it's like very deserty, is very conservative too. I'm in a conservative part of Denver, but there's just such a heavily dense populated city that it controls so much of what goes out. We have a couple of people that are on the big scene, like Laura Boebert. People hate her because she carries her gun around everywhere. I don't know if you've seen her. Yeah, she's awesome. I've tried to get her on my show. I think she thinks I'm a gotcha show, but I'm like, you can come on and we'll talk. We'll have a good conversation. But yeah, it's Denver, and it sucks, and it feels like you feel stuck.
I know that dynamic all too well. I know that dynamic all too well because that is Portland. Portland dictates the entire state, there is a lot of red in the state of Oregon. And super frustrating. I'm sure you're on the same page with this. One of the things that can tick me off so quick is when people, even people who follow and subscribe to me, will say, "Oh, you voted him in, now deal with it." I'm like, oh, those are fighting words, because no, I did not. So that really out of me. But do you get that from people also?
Yeah, and I understand what they're saying, their sentiment behind it, because there is some truth that we're a collective, but at the same time, it's, it's your own darn vault for staying in the same state, I guess. And there's a good big group of us, and I feel like the conservatives out here are really conservative, because there's like a strong line, as opposed to where I'm from in South Carolina. There's conservatives, and then there's like, I'll vote red, I guess. But the people here are very, so I don't, it's that one's so hard. And so you just have to stick close to your local politicians.
Right. That makes so much sense. It's funny you mentioned, like, we're staying in a state where we don't agree with the politics. And I have totally looked into moving elsewhere. But then I've also had people, like, I'm a member of Free Oregon, and the founder is like, don't run away, stay and fight for our state. So I have that too in me, where I'm like, I get it. We can't all just run to our safe havens. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get it. But I don't like putting the armor on every morning. So that's exhausting.
Yeah. Or pretending that you're not one, I guess, in some corporate settings. But I think also I'm a Christian, so I'm called to go to places that there aren't a lot of Christians, and Jesus said that it was going to be tough, and I was going to have to take up my cross, and he said, if you're going to live like me, you're probably going to die like me. So it's not like I don't have that mentality where I'm like, I need to stay safe. You know what I mean? It's just a very frustrating time. So
yes, well, I'm with you too. I am growing more and more bold. I feel like, there was something, I believe it was part of a Reagan speech that was recently resurfacing. And it was basically, you were not born to fit in, you were born to stand out. And I'm like, that is so true. Like, I feel that about myself. And that doesn't mean you're going to be the popular one at all. Quite the opposite, actually. And but that's like your calling, and I feel like that for you as well. So I'm a Christian as well, and so I totally agree. And that's something I knew early on, is that my parents raised me like at some point in time, you may experience where you're going to be called on the carpet and asked if you're a believer or not, and you are to never, even if you are a life or death situation, you never denounce God. And so I've known that from very elementary age, that is just something you don't do, even when your instinct is to save your life, right? But so what we're doing now, even though that's like a different level, we're doing what we can to preserve our way of life and preserve our Constitution. And it's not the popular thing right now, but we are called to. So
it feels like an uphill battle for sure. But I also hope that maybe with all these policies that are coming down, that people are going to start being more and more frustrated as they pay more in taxes, as they see what's pushed in their public schools, as they just with all the mask mandates and all the COVID restrictions and stuff that's closed and people's businesses being taken down, and all the riots that we had here. It's not even anywhere comparison to Oregon, but I hope people wake up to that and see that in this next election. I have high hopes, and I have high expectations to this next election in 2022 coming up. So.
Right. I do as well, for sure. On the topic of education and critical race theory, what are your thoughts? And then what do you hear from parents or just people in your neck of the woods? What are their thoughts on teaching that in elementary schools?
Well, I don't really know a lot of people. Oh, I have a lot of my friends have little teeny tiny children, and they're very nervous. I don't have any kids yet. My wife and I are talking about having kids, but they're very nervous about where to put their kids in school. And they've talked to me because I used to be in education about where to put your kids in school. But for me, you have to reject the premise. You can't argue with this critical race theory, because if you're arguing, you'll lose. It's an uphill battle. The foundation is like a gotcha question. It's like, does your mom know you're stupid? You're like, no. Oh, so she doesn't know you're stupid? Okay. So you have to reject it and say, I just reject it at its foundation. And that's the only way to fight against it, and to tell them about your own life. Because my life, I did not grow up privileged. Divorced family. My mom was borderline. She could have got on food stamps, and she didn't because she's too proud and she's too conservative. And my dad lived in very crappy situations. I grew up in the ghetto side of the neighborhood. I was the only white kid in one of my schools. I used to get picked on all the time for being white. So I experienced racism firsthand, and that's not in the critical race agenda. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't fit in their category. So you getting to know people and telling people your story is the way to go. But yeah, parents are nervous. And I don't know about are you nervous? Because you have kids, right?
Yeah, and they're both in public school here. Yeah. So no, it is. It's the blessing of them being home 3 days a week now, and it was 5 days for over a year. But as I was able to hear what was being taught, and I had to reach out to the teacher a few times and the principal as well, concerning Black Lives Matter library, Black Lives Matter agenda being taught. But just recently, my daughters, they were talking about immigration, and she's in 4th grade, so they have more serious conversations. But they were talking about immigration. They were sharing stories. Well, where we live in Oregon, I would say half the population here is from some part of Asia, and I will tell you, most of the people from Asia seem to be conservative because a lot of them have experienced communism, or at least their parents have. So, but anyway, so all of these stories were being told about ancestors, and it was everything but white people. And so after that, my husband and I sat my daughter down, and we were like, we just want you to know that we don't come from privilege. And I shared my grandma survived the Dust Bowl in Texas. They were dirt poor, making their own clothes. Yeah. So was my mom growing up. I mean, so we have had people immigrate over from Scotland, and yes, it was a long time ago, but it wasn't until just maybe the generation before us where we started becoming comfortable financially. So we have not had privilege. And I was even sharing with her, I'm like, I have an associate's degree, and I barely got that. I'm not a good student. But I've worked with my work ethic and my personality. I've been able to achieve. And so I think it's so important. Like you said, share your story, because, just because we have white skin doesn't mean we do come from that point of privilege. No, we could only buy something with a coupon. And seriously. So there's just it is important that our kids feel armed to be able to share those stories as well. And my daughter clearly didn't, but now we've given her some background. So hopefully she will feel comfortable the next time. But be proud of we're from Europe. Doesn't mean anything different. We still immigrated from Europe, and talk about it. Be comfortable to talk about it. You're not the enemy. So
I think that's a very powerful statement you said about your kids feeling comfortable with who they are. I think that's such a profound thing to say, because I feel like that is what is going on in our schools today, is that these kids that are being taught these things are just starting to feel uncomfortable with who they are, not because of what they've done, or they've been rude to a kid that day, or they're mean to their mom, or they're making bad grades or whatever. They're just feeling uncomfortable because of what they look like. And that is the definition of racism. But that doesn't mean it. That word doesn't mean what it used to mean. And we have to take that word back in some capacity.
Right. Exactly. I completely agree. Yeah. So that's been the thing. My son is 7 and he's in 1st grade, but he will be the one that's he's very outspoken already. And so I don't have any concerns there. He'll be schooling them for sure. But so that's the
getting in trouble.
He probably will, but it'll be like where I'm proud of him because it'll be for standing up for himself. So yeah, just yeah. Shoot, I missed my message from Juan. Sorry, Juan. Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you, hey, we're live here. I missed one of my cues. I just like to air my human side. I think that's important. But yes. What people don't realize is we're going to pull a 180 on them in 4 minutes, but I won't go there. But I'm excited. Oh, so I want to ask you, when did you get started being a creator?
So I got started during the pandemic, just like a lot of people were like, hey, I'm bored. Let's start a podcast. And I've always been heavily involved in politics. My stepfather was in town council. I used to hang out with Tim Scott sometimes in South Carolina. I'm very involved in politics. I love reading the news. So I read about 15 different sources every single morning for my news. I don't have one source. I don't have one trusted source. I try to read everything and read the whole article, not just the title, because they usually lie to you in the title. So I started last year, and it just kind of, I got the brunt end of what it's like to be shadow banned, what it's like to grow and grind through building something every single day, and not just waking up and buying for $5, having 100,000 followers on Instagram or whatever. So the grind of it, and I've really enjoyed doing it, and I find it fun because I mix truth with a little comedy. Just because I just feel like the world is so crazy, you need to have a little lightness mixed in with the truth, you know? Tim Scott here. No way. But yeah, that's when I got started last year.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were right about the same time. For sure. Mine was from rage, not boredom, but
yeah.
But same objective. Rage fueled me. But oh my goodness. Well, where can we? I know you're going to be here for another half hour, but real quick, where can we find you? Because you're on a laundry list of channels.
So you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Gab, Parler, TikTok, Minds, PocketNet. You can find me on every platform, literally, in the whole world. And you can find me on every podcast platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, doesn't matter. I'm on all the platforms. Yeah, check me out, subscribe to me, follow me on those places. So, yeah, I'm very interactive, especially on Instagram.
The Derek O'Shea Show. Is that how do they find you, the Derek O'Shea Show? Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Derek O'Shea Show is the deal. Yep.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, we're going to go to a quick break, and we will see you back. Don't go anywhere.
The Second Amendment is a priority at the Loaded Mic. If we don't defend the right to keep and bear arms, there are people who are happy to violate it. The strategies and tactics of the anti-gun crowd and politicians are sinister, and we need to understand those tactics. I wrote the Good Gun, Bad Guy book series as the rule book to their evil game, so we can understand their strategies and motives to defeat them. Understand the mindset of the anti-gunner in Book 1. Learn the media strategies behind the gun grab in Book 2. And understand the politics behind their mission in Book 3. Go to goodgunbadguy.com.
Okay, so a lot of my friends are asking me, and this is a serious question. I know I do a lot of silly videos, but what guidelines are we following? Who are we following? The WHO, CDC, CDD, whatever. Who is it?
That's July 4th, but we're not there yet. That's why I'm asking people to continue to follow the CCD guidelines.
There it is. CCD
guidelines.
Wait, what do you say? CDD?
Continue to follow the CCD guidelines.
Follow the CCD guidelines, people. Make sure to tell all your friends and family. Follow the CCD guidelines. I'm looking it up right now. I'm struggling to find who the CCD is, but keep looking, keep searching. I believe in you. You believe in me. Let's keep finding the CCD. Okay, so a lot of...
Oh my gosh. Oh my. Hey, you guys notice that we're on opposite sides? Flipping the script.
Yes. Okay,
right.
my turn to interview you. What?
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. What are your thoughts on Caitlyn Jenner? Go.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I actually really like Caitlyn Jenner. This is embarrassing, and I hope I don't lose followers, subscribers over this. But I did watch the Kardashians, and I loved Bruce. And Bruce has always been a staunch, outspoken conservative. And even when he transitioned to Caitlyn Jenner, she was still very open about her conservative beliefs and continues to be. So for me, I really feel like Californians should really give her a shot. Let's focus on content and what she stands for versus what she looks like. We're not asking you to go on a date with her, right? So 2 thumbs up.
Oh man, I think you just scared me just there. I'm just thinking about going on a date with Caitlyn Jenner, and I just what? Maybe we could start off with a nice bottle of Chianti. So what?
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of conservatives online. They're very angry at the fact that a transgender woman, Caitlyn Jenner, whatever, is on the Republican ticket, and they see that as a bigger issue than actually having somebody with decent views. And why do you feel like they are so aggressive about that, I guess?
You know, what
Why
I
do you
feel
think they
like
care?
is somebody brought that very point up to me, and they were, because I said, Californians, please be open-minded. And they said, how do we know that Caitlyn is going to remain, if she is elected under the Republican Party, how do we know that she will stay true to the party? And they said, just look, she couldn't even stay a man. And I'm like, okay, I see the thought process, but that's also very, very, it's like a whole new level psychologically. I just feel like, honestly, it's disappointing for me to hear that, because I do feel like we need to stay laser focused on who is going to deliver. And when you have somebody who is transgender, who is willing to put their neck on the line to say, trans people should not be competing, trans men should not be competing in women's sports, she has put her neck on the line with her own community by standing up for what she believes is right. And I personally feel that she will continue to do that. I find that we should focus less on the packaging and more on what's inside.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, because I know a lot of conservatives love Kristi Noem, not only because she's a babe, but she's also in the South. But she didn't really. She kind of caved to the whole transgender and NCAA thing. So I thought it was interesting that Caitlyn stood up against it. And it's funny to see somebody like Caitlyn has more cojones than Kristi Noem about that issue. And it seems like Caitlyn would be like, I don't care about NCAA. This is what I believe to be true because I want to protect females in sports. And that's just so. But then we have all these conservatives that are more mad about Caitlyn than they are about their own Mitch McConnell's or, who's that guy in soccer?
It is unfortunate. This brings us back to human nature. Human nature does not like what's different because it's the unknown, and it creates that general anxiety, right? The unknown, fear of, the fear of the unknown, right? So I just think that that's what it is. And it's unfortunate. I do feel like, I don't know. I personally feel she has a good shot and that she will prove a lot lot of the naysayers wrong. And, you said that cojones remark. Well, you set me up. Set me up. Notice I didn't fall right for it, but I do have
means balls.
white humor, so I was smirking inside for sure. Oh, exactly. Chris agrees with me. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. But,
No, I agree. I think there's bigger issues in the Republican Party to deal with than being so focused on the fact that a transgender female is running for California when California is such a mess. And the idea of having a Republican governor in California would be insane to begin with. So it makes sense that a transgender woman would be the first Republican out of California. Let's just be honest about that, too. I don't know. So I'm curious. I want to know your thoughts about this too. So I know you're very back to blue person, and it's all over your channels and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on defund the police, and should those cities actually get rid of the police so they learn their lesson?
Oh my gosh, that's a huge one. No, they shouldn't defund the police. I'm in one of the cities that was defunded. And as everyone knows, my husband is a police officer in this city. So we were able to see firsthand the ramifications of defunding them. We have homicides up 2,000% so far. The list goes on. They've now refunded the Portland Police Bureau $4 million to put this gun violence team back in place. But the damage is done. It would be tempting here. Okay, selfishly, because I live in one of these cities, I beg of them not to get rid of the police because I would be directly impacted, as would many people that I care about. It would be nice to say, and I even think of New York. I've lived in New York City. I know a lot of people who still do. And as much as I would love to say, yeah, the NYPD, all of them should have the blue flu for a week and show them what it really looks like. But the truth of the matter is, there are innocent people such as myself who don't vote for these clowns that would be drastically impacted. So I don't want to see that happen. But what I do want to see is more light. For instance, when Minneapolis defunded their police, their crime skyrocketed. And so they were doing the whole refund bit as well. And so what we need to do is do more, shed light on the fact that here is what you did and here's the ramification from it. But the problem is no one seems to care. It's all about this agenda. The actual the numbers don't seem to matter to these radical individuals. And but short answer, no, I don't want cities such as mine or yours defunded, because we would be hurt.
Yeah, well, sure. I don't know if you saw this, but I saw that before we came online that 355 people have been murdered in Portland this year. Or shot. So it was 300 shots. And so yes. That is insane. It has no weight on Chicago, which I lived in Chicago for 9 years of my life. That was a very hard 9 years, but I don't know how the defunding the police argument, if it didn't affect me, I would be like, yeah, just figure it out. Let's see how that goes for you. Because I'm sure it's not going to end well. Right. Because all these rich liberals think that there's a community policing and there's people are just going to live free and we'll get these counselors. Like, I know social workers that were like, I'll be a part of that social work plan. And I've talked to them and I said, really? So you would just walk in and get shot at and you'd be okay with that? And they were like, why would I get shot at? I was like, are you kidding me? Do you know what these cops deal with on a day-to-day basis on home checks and just safe, like making sure people are okay and knocking on the door and just getting shot at? And that was like such a big idea to them to have somebody go and just shoot them when they're like trying to be a counselor. I was like, what do you think these cops do?
Oh my gosh, it's insane. Right. Well, that's crazy. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, and then on the flip side of it, I'm curious of your thoughts of this. Yeah. What about the cops who arrested people for wearing masks or took down businesses or allowed the New York mayor to paint Black Lives Matter on the street illegally with taxpayer money and they blocked people from stopping it? What about those cops? What are your thoughts
I
of
call
those
them
cops?
oath breakers, for sure, oath breakers.
Okay.
And you know what? I am so disgusted with them. You know, Salem, Oregon, the capital of Oregon. I was just there the other day, actually. Their police are the worst. They are oath breakers, and I call them out all the time on my posts. I tag them because what happens is a lot of our protests here in the state of Oregon, they take place in Salem, and many of them in front of the governor's mansion. And Antifa always shows up. Who do you think they arrest? They arrest all of the patriots. Antifa just walks away. And it's starting to happen here in Portland a bit too. And I tell my husband, he doesn't like this, but I'm like, yeah, you and your oathbreaker friends. But no, he's not at all. Most of them aren't, but I am like, he knows I'm like so disgusted with any of that. And I think what it is there's so many police officers that, honestly, I think it's the young ones that either they don't care, or it's the young ones that are just new and they don't have enough clout, or they don't have that courage to go against direct orders. And so they're just going to do it for a paycheck. But no, I can't stand them. Disgusting.
Like your husband, I don't know. I'm so impressed and also don't understand why you would still be a cop in today's world, to be honest, with the way the government treats cops. And just like, if you like the whole George Floyd thing, and then the Ashard Brooks, and like in Atlanta, and like all this other stuff where they come out against cops, regardless if it was a clean kill or okay to kill. Like that one girl, Michaela Bryant, when she was about to stab the other girl, and then the cop shot. But like, people were going after him, even though it was okay. And so you don't have the government on your side. It seems like the chiefs don't care, and majority of the public hates. Why would you be a cop in today's world? I would love to hear your answer why your husband does that.
Yeah. Well, you know what's really interesting? So my husband went to college for marketing. So he has a degree in marketing and advertising. And then he went and did that for like 5 years and hated it and realized that wasn't his calling. And it's really in his DNA to be a law enforcement officer. Like, he has it in NYPD all throughout his family. And so he loves the job. I don't even know what he would do if this wasn't his career. And he just really enjoys what he does. And the sad thing is that it is really niche as far as like what I do. I can transition into so many other industries, but law enforcement is law enforcement. And unless you're going like private security or something like that, it's very niche. And you are there 30 years, and then maybe you do something afterwards. Maybe you do security afterwards, but it's not the type of job that you can they make decent money, most of them. And so it's hard to just quit that. And then what's he going to go lean back on his advertising degree that he hated from years and years ago? I feel like a lot of them are somewhat stuck like that. Like, they have this skill set. They're good at what they do. They're disgusted with what's happening to them. But it's like, where do they go from here? So that's
and that job would just give me so much anxiety every day. I'd be nervous to take calls. I'd be nervous to go out and take, like, oh, is this person fit this description? I don't know if I want to take that call, because I don't want to be put on the spot to make a reaction decision that could end my life for the rest of my life. I just don't. That anxiety is unbelievable. How does your husband deal with that? And how do you deal with that as a wife of someone that goes into that every day, that he can make a split decision and he could be on the news everywhere and labeled a racist, labeled a killer, labeled all these irrational things, even if he was totally in the right? How do you deal with that? It's so true.
Oh my gosh, it's hard. Well, the worst is, once in a while, I don't call him. I call him maybe once every couple of nights when he's working. I'm not a naggy wife, but I did call him recently, and I heard him dispatched to a call where somebody was broken down on one of the bridges here in Portland. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, those are so dangerous. I'm like, please stay on the side of the road. And he was like, oh, I'm good. Thank you. But, and that's just for a call with a broken down car on a bridge. I just think of him being hit by a car just happened on the Long Island Expressway. But anyway, but that's mild. I mean, it's difficult. I've really had to, one, not call him because I can hear his calls coming through when he's on duty. And so I just will text him like, hey, how's it going? Keep it surface. And honestly, it's very difficult. But, and actually having kids has helped me so much because I'm so exhausted by the end of the day that I can't be up all night worrying like I did before I had kids. So I just deal somehow. It's not easy, but
That's incredible.
And he's incredibly skilled. You know what really helped? I went on a ride along with him and I was like, he is good. Like the way he interacts with people. Oh my gosh, I was so impressed. And so that really helped me. I'm like, he is able to control himself. So I'm not worried about him and how he's going to respond. I'm worried about him, being unable to handle others' responses. But that really eased my nerves for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, understandable. That's just a lot. That's a lot to take in, a lot that's going on. And it just seems like every day it gets worse to be being a part of that system.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes. Do we have a question or something?
It is truly a problem finding a job anywhere after being a police officer. See, Drew is a former police officer. Same situation. Because of the stigma. The only thing that is left is bar, restaurant, private sector. Right? See, it's so
you got to create your own job.
Right?
Yeah, you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to start something new because, and not to say that I have the same experience, but when I was a youth pastor and I was trying to get a job at like Apple and other stores, I had on my resume was just youth pastor working in youth ministry, and people were just like, "I'm not going to hire you," but crazy Christian dude coming around preaching God's word every fight. I'm like, no, I'm a normal person. I can work. I'm a hard worker. There's that stigma. So I can only imagine, especially in today's world, if you try to get a corporate job and I've been a police for 25 years, police officer, what that stigma and that kind of abuse, like discrimination. It's like legit discrimination to like look at that on a resume.
You know what? Not the company I'm with now, but a company that I was with within the last 10 years. I was the hiring manager and I had made a decision to hire somebody who had worked in the office of their church for the last 10 years. And they wanted to come work for me. And where I used to work, the area manager would have to look over, who we had made the decision to hire. It's just checks and balances. And they questioned me on that hire. And they specifically said, that person has only worked at a church. And I remember just being like, wow, it was very pointed and very apparent that there was some discrimination there. Because it was a church that they had worked for. So I struggled
getting a job for like 3 years after youth ministry because I put it on every application because it was the only job I had. And they just either didn't call me, or when they did call me, they would ask me to my face, like, why do you want to be here? Don't you want to be like a preacher, a pastor? And I'm just like, yes, but I need money. I made $20,000 a year on a youth pastor salary. I couldn't eat. Yeah, so, how did your kids deal with having a father as a police officer in today's world? I'm curious of that.
They are so because I do parent I am pretty transparent within reason, but they seem to be they're proud of him. Yet my daughter, especially because she is 10 and a half, she's uneasy some nights, but for some reason they seem to be really at ease with it. And I think it's just because when he comes home, he completely compartmentalizes work. He talks to me about things, which is good, but he doesn't bring home his work. And so they aren't faced with that. And so when he comes home, he's the fun, happy dad. And so they don't really see his work as a derogatory. We just, we talk about all the cool things he does. And he'll be like, I arrested a bad guy today. You know, so they think Dad's very cool. He's keeping kids safe, which he is. So it seems to be okay at this point in time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And how do you feel like, what do you feel like the Biden presidency is going to be like for the next 3 years?
One, I don't think it's
To
going to
switch
last
subjects.
that long. Oh my gosh, it's not going to last that long. That guy he can't hang around. It's funny. My grandma has dementia, which is not funny, but I'm like, they seem very similar. Like, dude, and
Oh,
she
really?
just got put in a dementia care facility, and then this guy's out running the country. Yeah, like where sometimes you're lucid and sometimes you're doing the whole, he doesn't even know what agency we use for. So I'm like, no, he's not going to last. Clearly he can't wait to hand the torch over to Harris. I mean, seriously, he's just counting down the days. No, we're not good.
President Harris.
Everything.
Yeah, it's funny that I was watching I did a live stream on the address. I do a lot of live streams on YouTube, but just seeing him make it through the whole speech, I was just like, wow, he talked for an hour. But it's such a low bar. It's like so low that I'm like, wow, he made it through a speech. But even though he had a lot of his Biden blunders or whatever. But yeah, I didn't think he would make it till May. So he's already going farther than I thought. So
I know. It's like some days I'm like, did they like load him up on uppers? Like, how is he even handling this?
100%.
But
he's got to be on like vitamin B12 shots or something.
Something. It's crazy. He's getting those like testosterone injections in his butt cheeks or something.
I'll have what he's having.
Oh, it looks like we might have frozen. I froze.
I'm not frozen.
Oh, I think it's me. I think I got some connectivity issues today, so I'm glad you don't.
It's okay.
It happens.
No, it's okay. So, what do you think? You think Trump's going to run 2024?
I do. I really do. I wasn't sure at first how I felt about that, but I'm on board as long as DeSantis is part of that. Like Vice. I think DeSantis he's the man. But then I wonder, oh my God, poor Florida. Everyone's flocking to Florida right now. And then 3 years from now, DeSantis will likely be Vice.
Yes.
And who's going to be the governor?
I don't know. Honestly, I almost want DeSantis to run more than Trump. I know that's blasphemy, but I think DeSantis would have a better chance of winning overall. And so I don't know. He's such a smart guy, and he owns the media every time they talk to him. And I think it's refreshing to hear someone speak logically and sophisticated and still be conservative. You know,
right? You know. I actually agree with you. And I've said this openly. I actually thought DeSantis would be a better choice to run for president, just given the past. And I do feel like he has some of that savagery that Trump has. And that's why we love him so much. And he doesn't put up with BS. And so I feel like he would be the ideal candidate. But it does seem like Trump is pretty set on running in 24. So obviously if he runs, hands down, he's got it. But we'll see.
I think it would be smart if Tim Scott joined him on the ticket. I think that would be a smart play by him, or like a Candace Owens, or so somebody. I don't think DeSantis would be a VP. I don't know. I just don't see him taking that reign.
Yeah, because it does seem like VPs are passive and they're just kind of like arm candy in a sense. But I agree. He's a leader. He is the leader. I agree with you on that for sure.
So are you moving to Florida?
I had thought about it. I'm not even kidding. So my husband doesn't want to leave his job. But we had thought about buying like a second property in Florida, like just to have in the villages, the retirement community. It's not like you're old. It's like you have to be 50, and that's not old. So So I'd be able to live there in 10 years if I wanted to. but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's on the radar. It's on the radar for sure. But we'll see.
Well, he
I
just
wanna
gave.
see things.
Yes,
Oh,
he just gave cops $1,000 bonuses, so might as
I
well.
saw that. Yes, I saw that for sure. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Well,
man.
Derek, I appreciate having you on so much. You're seriously, I'm a huge fan of yours. And so this was really fun. Let me just one more time.
Yes.
You know,
No.
even though my hat is an embarrassment actually in comparison. But
Yours is so big. I'm embarrassed to be next to you. I'm compensating.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And these are my son's sunglasses. So, you know, I have a narrow face. But oh, good times. All right, my friend. Well, we will have you on again. And thank you for flipping the script. That was
Cool.
fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. I appreciate you too.
Great night. All right, talk to you soon. Bye. He's still there. There we go. I love those awkward outros. Those are so fun. But hey, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. And it was really fun to have somebody on that I truly enjoy watching his content. And it was cool to be able to have a one-on-one interaction. And he's dead, just hasn't fallen over yet. Steve, I'm assuming he's talking about Biden. Yeah, no, so that was really good. And I want you guys to please go look him up. And he's on like every platform you can imagine, the Derek O'Shea Show. So wherever you're on, YouTube, Instagram, wherever, go find him. He's funny. He'll lift your spirits for the moment, you know, because there's so much negativity out there. So anyways, please go look for Ram on Clout Hub. You know, we run the risk of being censored on all of the mainstream media, even including YouTube and Instagram, etc., Facebook even. So if you could go check out Clout Hub and look for RAM, RAM, because our content is posted there. And that way it can't be removed. Also, Mike Lindell had rolled out Frank's speech. And though there are some issues with the rollout, we also have presence there as well. So if once it opens up to non-creators, which it may be already, and I might just not be aware, we are there. Look for RAM, and that is where our content will be posted. And on that, with Mike Lindell, we do have a partnership with MyPillow, and we have a discount code. So when you are making your purchase, use the code RAM, RAM at checkout, and that will give you a discount and it will help us as a news source. I appreciate you tuning in so much. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday. And remember, we may be awake. Wait, I said that backwards. They may be woke, but we're awake. And with that, have a great night. I am a raging patriot.
The Second Amendment is a priority at the Loaded Mic. If we don't defend the right to keep and bear arms, there are people who are happy to violate it. The strategies and tactics of the anti-gun crowd and politicians are sinister, and we need to understand those tactics. I wrote the Good Gun, Bad Guy book series as the rule book to their evil game, so we can understand their strategies and motives to defeat them. Understand the mindset of the anti-gunner in Book 1. Learn the media strategies behind the gun grab in Book 2, and understand the politics behind their mission in Book 3. Go to goodgunbadguy.com.
Hi, I'm Charlie Sauer, president of the Market Institute Foundation and editor of U.S. Policy. Today I want to talk about Nancy Pelosi, because she's like a bad used car salesperson. Speaker Pelosi wants to reform healthcare. That much is clear. And for reforming healthcare, she has the support of everyone in Congress. However, after that, things start getting a bit murky because almost every single one of her proposals ignores the business decisions that go into providing healthcare, innovating new drugs, taking care of patients, or even the investment of going to medical school. In other words, the car is beautiful, but it doesn't have wheels or an engine. Look, we all want cheaper healthcare. We all want more access to care. We all want better care. But to get those things, you can't just snap your fingers and make it happen. There needs to be an incentive to build hospitals, an incentive to develop new drugs. There needs to be payment for treating patients and a reason to spend so many years and so much money on education. The supply of healthcare needs a reason to grow. And although the government's involvement in healthcare can make the market less efficient and the free market nature of healthcare is sometimes murky, the reason to take a risk in healthcare or any market is profit. For some, profit can take on different definitions, from money in the bank to job security, but profit is what people want. However, Nancy Pelosi wants to take all of that potential profit away. And in place of the incentive to profit, her proposal is to, well, actually, she doesn't have an answer to that. So like a bad used car salesman pointing out what a lemon of a car could be if only you just close your eyes and imagine it, Speaker Pelosi relies on make-believe and deception. For instance, if we look at H.R. 3, which was recently reintroduced in the House, she wants lower drug prices. That is something everyone agrees on. However, instead of figuring out what the cost drivers are in the market, like pharmacy benefit managers, and why those cost drivers exist, Speaker Pelosi just wants cheaper prices. So her bill sets the price lower and threatens a 95% tax for those that don't comply. The Speaker's plan relies on everyone continuing to take the same risks, make the same investments, and work the same amount of hours, but for less money. That isn't going to happen. Businesses won't invest the same amount of money, and that means fewer new drugs and therefore a worse quality of healthcare in the future. That is the reality. Speaker Pelosi is selling a lemon, but telling us it is a luxury. If we look at the places with cheaper drugs, all driving around the same lemon that Speaker Pelosi is selling, they are all reaping the results. They have access to fewer innovative drugs. So while the drugs they have access to might be cheaper, if they need something cutting edge, it might not be available. In other words, it is a healthcare system that is only built for healthy people while ignoring the sick. It's a pretty car with no engine. As an example of this, over 290 new medical substances were created between 2011 and 2018. The US currently has access to 90% of those new drugs, while Canada only has access to 44% of the drugs. Therefore, if you need one of them and you're Canadian, the only options are either to go without or visit America. However, what if those drugs didn't exist at all because Nancy Pelosi took away the profit incentive? Then that Canadian would be left with only one option. U.S. citizens would only have one option, and that option would be to go without, because the new drug would not exist. There are ways to make drugs cheaper, but they involve the government getting out of healthcare. There is a small doctor's office in Kansas that sells drugs cheaper than Walmart or Target, and his model is catching on. He can sell these drugs cheaper because he isn't playing by the normal market rules. He has taken the middleman out of the equation. Now, the government shouldn't do that by decree, but still, they could look at the market and figure out why middlemen or additional layers of bureaucracy and cost increases have taken over healthcare. They could look at why so much administrative staff is needed in healthcare, or they could ignore it all like Speaker Pelosi is pushing and sell us all a lemon. Thank you very much. My name's Charlie Sauer. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Keep coming back to see us at US Policy.
Hey, this is Josh Barnes with Point of View, where we discuss the crucial questions that you have about the critical issues of our day from a biblical worldview. We believe that to be right about issues, you're going to have to be biblical about issues. Check out Point of View every Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. and every Tuesday night from 8 to 8:30 right here on Right America Media Network at ramtv.live. Join us for the next episode of Point of View and let the Bible change your perspective.
Anti-gun bills in Colorado, crazy anti-cop California teacher, and a compromised BLM juror in the Chauvin trial. This is The Loaded Mic, and I'm Dan Wass. You're listening to The Loaded Mic. Colorado legislators are working hard to destroy the Second Amendment rights of the state's residents. The three bills in question are SB 21-256, HB 21-1298, and HB 21-1299. In summary, SB 21-256 is designed to override existing law which prohibits local government from violating the Second Amendment. Now, if signed into law, the bill would allow state and local governments to override the Constitution and turn the state into a gun-free zone with specific focus on colleges and universities. Now, gun-free zones have been devastating to families of people who have been rendered unarmed and helpless in times of danger. Killings in schools have nearly doubled since Joe Biden introduced the Gun-Free School Zones Act in 1990. It would seem Colorado legislators are trying to put in place a law that would allow them to expand these deadly zones where citizens are disarmed and killers are given an environment with zero opposition. The prime sponsors of this Constitution-violating bill are Senator Stephen Fenberg, Senator Dominic Moreno, Representative Edith Hooten, Representative Karen McCormick, and Representative Lindsay Doherty, all Democrats. Now, HB 21-1298 would extend the waiting period on the further investigation of denied background checks from 30 days to 60 days. This would mean the state could easily delay the background check process for 60 days, potentially putting good people in danger by rendering them defenseless for an extended period of time. The federal background check system is already at a 99+% rate of false positive denials, which means the vast majority of denials are unjust to begin with. According to the GAO, in 2018, only 12 cases out of 112,000 background check denials were justified and prosecuted, leaving over 112,000 good people unarmed and defenseless for an extended period of time. Carol Bound was a woman from New Jersey whose 30-day wait was extended even after she filed police reports and a restraining order against her abuser. But on the 43rd day of her state government's waiting period, she was stabbed to death by the very man she feared. At that point, she had still not received approval. Colorado legislators seem unaffected by the loss of life these types of delays cause. The bill would give the state of Colorado the ability to further delay and deny firearm purchases and concealed carry permits that should not be required in the first place. The prime sponsors of this Constitution-violating bill are Representative Judith Amabile, Representative Stephen Woodrow, Representative Karen McCormick, Senator Julie Gonzalez, and Senator Brittany Patterson, all Democrats. HB 21-1299 is a bill that would allow the state of Colorado to create a, quote, gun violence prevention office within the Department of Public Health, focused primarily on creating public awareness campaigns, also known as propaganda, and using $3 million of taxpayer money in the first year to do it. The department would teach the general public the process for requesting extreme risk protection orders, ERPOs, also known as red flag laws, on fellow citizens while encouraging them to look for improperly stored firearms and people whom they might believe have mental health issues. We learned the dangers of ERPOs, or red flag laws, when Gary Willis from Maryland was killed in a gun confiscation at his home after being the target of an unjust ERPO. It would seem Colorado legislators want citizens to trigger more of these deadly and unconstitutional raids on their neighbors, friends, and family members. This bill would also give the new department the ability to collaborate with other agencies, including healthcare providers, in its attempts to collect data, including mental health and substance use records for its, quote, research. The department would be allowed to incentivize private organizations with grants for conducting activities that support the department's initiatives. This department appears to be nothing more than a marketing arm of the state to further indoctrinate Colorado citizens into believing the lies of the anti-gun left, while giving the state the ability to eliminate the Second Amendment within its borders. The prime sponsors of this Constitution-violating bill are Representative Tom Sullivan, Representative Judith Amabile, Representative Jennifer Bacon, Representative Karen McCormick, Senator Rhonda Fields, and Senator Chris Hansen, all Democrats. Whether or not these bills pass, they reveal the true intentions of this dangerous, irresponsible, and politically motivated group of bureaucrats running the state of Colorado. Now, we're here with John Chiara today in the studio to talk about this and see what his take is on this, plus a whole bunch of other stuff that is, I'm sure, is going to be an entertaining show today. How
horrifying.
Are you? It's all horrifying, isn't it? It's all horrifying.
It's crazy.
So let me just get your opinion on this. It would seem that Colorado's doing everything they can now to try to pass these laws. These laws have been introduced, these bills have been introduced, and they want to. They're trying everything they can to basically end the Second Amendment within their state border.
So, do we know if the people of the state are actually behind this or not, or are they trying to bowl them over with this and just ram it through? And I don't know what the makeup of the state legislature is.
It's Democrat. All these people here are.
Well, there you go.
So, and it's mostly. I know Colorado is mostly Democrat, and they're doing everything they can. Colorado is, and here's the thing. I'm shocked at these bills because they're so blatantly attacking the Second Amendment. And that's coming from a guy from New York.
Right.
So, I mean, for these these Colorado people, if it's shocking to me from New York, we've seen everything here in New York that they've attempted. They're not getting away with it, they're getting away with some of it, but they're not getting away with all of it. But it's shocking to me, and I think I've seen it all, but these to me are really blatant.
It's crazy. I mean, and I don't know how anybody that lives there. Obviously, it's affecting them, but it affects anybody who travels there, and we'll see how it affects crime, like all these other things that the government does, thinking they're going to fix things. It's amazing to me overall that all these measures that government takes and all its different facets, and they never produce any results. And this just stays on the agenda and stays on the agenda. Yeah. I mean, it just shows how much that the government and media are in cahoots in a lot of these places to just, brainwash people, I guess, into thinking that this is an important thing that they have to take care of. Otherwise, their lives are in danger. Like, whose lives are in danger?
Well, that's the thing. They'll use the under the guise of public safety. They, like, for instance, the red flag laws.
Right.
They want the ability to go confiscate guns if anybody accuses someone else of being a danger. They want to go. Colorado legislature wants to go to the medical industry and get records on people to use in their so-called gun violence department that they're creating. Unbelievable. And I know that there's a lot of good people, a lot of real Americans in Colorado, and I've talked to them, and I know there's a lot of gun owners, and I just hope these guys are really fighting this.
I have some high school friends there. I should probably ask them what they think about all this, because I don't think that they're on board with anything like this. I just don't know what they're trying to accomplish. I mean, we see so many clear-cut ways where people are shooting other people, and we seem to deal with none of those things. And we're all consumed with dealing with these signaling things that, because this one thing happened, there's a huge problem. Like we say with a lot of things, right? One thing happens and the media blows it up into some gigantic thing that's front page news and everybody should care about on a daily basis. And then when we try to investigate and dig into it a little bit, we find out that nobody really knows anybody who's doing any of those things, right? They're never. All the firearms that are legally owned in the country, they're there every day. Nobody's shooting everybody.
Yep.
So I don't know what they're digging for. It's just like they're making up problems in order to solve them, which is pretty sinister, really.
Well, the left is really successful at taking the marginal, the one case, the one or two cases, the fringe element of whatever, and blowing it up and using it to justify laws and regulations over the vast majority of those cases.
Right.
Like we talk about, and a perfect example is the abortion argument. So what they'll do is they'll argue, well, we think, they'll say they think abortion should be legal because of rape, incest, or the woman's life is in danger, the mother's life is in danger. So you ask them, well, okay, so if I were to agree, and Ben Shapiro did this, and he was brilliant with this. He said, if I were to agree with you on that, and say that yes, if the mother's life is in danger, or if rape or whatever, would you agree with me then that all other abortions are bad?
And how many would there be if that was the case?
Well, and it's such a tiny. And so that's the thing. So that's what they use the left uses the same type of argument for everything. They'll use it for climate change. They'll use it for gun control.
Yep.
They'll use it for border. The border. Oh, well, the poor little innocent.
Did you hear Joe? He caved again. He lowered the limit to 15,000 refugees per year.
No,
that's what Trump levels was set at, 15,000 a year.
That's
and
what
the Dems put pressure on him, so now he went back up to 62,500 a year. It's the magic number, right?
Yeah,
62,500. That'll fix everything.
What was it? 15,000.
15,000, right? This is refugees. This is separate from immigration. This is people that are like running for their lives, supposedly.
How do they determine that? That's another thing. They're saying that there's obviously a difference between a refugee and a bunch of people coming over with cell phones and Nikes, brand new Nike sneakers, right? Right, Anthony? What are your thoughts on this? I know you probably have an opinion on the border.
Does Joe ever make any sense?
No, I haven't.
Where did he come up with that number, 62,500?
Yeah, exactly.
This is the problem with all kinds of policies, including climate change, guns, all this other stuff, is they just make up a number that they think that's going to be the thing that's going to make everything right. And it's just made up. It's political junk, really. Yeah. It's too bad. But if you don't recognize that, we made the number higher. That must be better, right?
Well, and speaking of Slow Joe, former Vice President Joe Biden, he's the one who introduced the Gun-Free School Zones Act, and nobody talks about this. Ever since that we saw school killings almost double because the bad guys know.
All in gun-free zones.
Well, they're all, the vast majority of gun-related deaths occur in gun-free zones where good people are unable to defend themselves. It's so stupid that I can't even believe that we don't talk about this stuff more. But anyway, with the Gun-Free School Zones Act, specifically in 1990, we saw almost double the killings in schools. And I always use the analogy, on what planet does it make sense to bus tens of thousands of kids into schools, keep them there all day long, remove all security, remove guns from the staff, from the teachers, from even in most cases from the security guards.
Right.
Just remove guns, and then if that's not enough, post a sign on the building that says everybody inside's unarmed and helpless.
Right.
Gun-free zone, gun-free school zone.
Sounds like an incentive to a criminal to me.
But then what they'll do is they'll take that school killing that they caused, the anti-gun left, they'll take the school killing that they caused, and they'll use it in their numbers to boost the numbers and to use it to justify more gun control.
Right. Mass shootings.
Yeah.
Without the context of where they happened and why they happened, where
Right.
they happened.
They caused the problem. They use the numbers.
It's terrible.
And they push for more gun control. So do we really think that they want the problem to stop?
No.
Because they know how to fix it, right?
Well, the whole process that they're using is geared to not solve the problem, right? That's like
Exactly.
it's the only solution that's made to not solve the problem. It's and obviously stepping back and looking at that, and we have enough data now over the years where all these shootings happening in gun-free zones, and like, why don't you try making a few of these not gun-free zones? You know what I mean? And I mean, you could test it pretty easily, right? Not that you can test. Let me have to send fake criminals.
Well, then you
in.
have these dimwits like Shannon Watts from Everytown and Mom's Demand, and they're out there saying, pushing this stuff, pushing more of this stuff. Right. More of these killings are pushing more of these gun-free zones. They're pushing more of the gun regulations that restrict good people from and prevent them from being able to defend themselves. It's people like Shannon Watts who are the cause of the problem.
Right.
And it's the money that comes from Bloomberg and the Democrats that fund her and her groups that are the cause of the problem. And somehow they have a vast number of uninformed, ignorant, foolish, fearful people within those organizations who gravitate toward those groups because they're scared of guns. They don't know any better. And Shannon Watts is giving them false information to lure them in to those groups so they can all get together, go to the state houses and push for more gun regulations. They're the cause of the problem, and nobody's calling them out.
And the media makes that front page news.
Yeah.
And the criminal is sitting back going, well, I can be famous. Look at this. I can go there and actually not get hurt, because if the criminals played their cards right, they could go shoot a bunch of people, throw down their gun, and not get shot. Right?
Yeah,
that's not usually the way it works out. But
and get their name in an article on the Mom's Demand website,
be famous forever.
Yeah. So these people, these anti-gun leftists, they are the problem. They are the dregs of our society, and they will destroy our country. And they continually put people in danger every day when they push these dangerous
they take away everyone's liberty to defend themselves in any situation, because the gun laws affects the gun. So if I can't get the gun, I might not walk into a gun-free zone and have to defend myself, but I might be at the movie theater and somebody comes up to me and I may have to defend myself, but because of the gun laws, I won't be able to do that.
Well, let me talk a little bit more about that, because that's a good point with respect to Shannon Watts and her groups and stuff like that. What they do, one of the big things they're pushing for is universal background checks. I've talked about universal background checks and how dangerous they are. People who don't understand what universal background checks means are like, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense. Oh, sure, we need more background checks on guns. Well, the truth is, and I've said it before on this show, on average every year there's about 112,000 denials. And over 99% of those denials are false positives, because they ultimately result in 2017 resulted in 12 prosecutions of people who shouldn't have been purchasing a gun. Okay. So what you're doing when you're pushing for universal background checks, and they know this, the anti-gun left knows this, but a lot of people that may support them may not know this. What you're doing when you're supporting so-called universal background checks is you're supporting a gun registry where all gun sales will be registered and monitored by the federal government. You're also making it more difficult for good people to be able to purchase a gun, because we know that there's a vast number, not a vast number, but there's a large number of false positive denials.
Right.
Thousands.
Statistically, it's bad. It's not something you would want to engage in. It doesn't work statistically.
Exactly. And there's one more point, is that all of this, through all of these background checks, the bad guys pay no attention to any of this nonsense.
Right.
They're like, they laugh at it because they go around and they'll either steal guns or get them through straw purchases or whatever ways they get guns. So when people like Every Town and Mom's Demand and all those anti-gun nut jobs, when they do this, what they're doing is they're creating a gun registry so the federal government can come and seize guns from good people.
Right.
They're putting good people in danger because they're subjecting them now to more scrutiny of a faulty system. It's a failed system. It doesn't work. And they're also, by trying to limit the number of guns that people get, they're encouraging bad guys, and especially with their gun-free zones. And now the red flag laws, because, the anti-gunners, they're not stupid. Well, some of them are, but the ones who are running these organizations, they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. They're trying to create a gun registry,
right.
Number one, with the universal background checks, simultaneously pushing for more red flag laws, because in order to confiscate guns, you need to know where they are.
Right.
What better way to know where they are than to create a gun registry through universal background checks? You see the connection?
It's an incentive for people to report their neighbors because they've been led to believe it's the right thing to do, right?
Well, now Colorado's doing the same thing. Colorado, in the actual bill, and it'll probably take me a minute to find it, but I can remember, in the actual bill, part of the educational portion of this was to educate people, the public, on how to call in red flag laws, how to initiate red flag laws. I'll just see if I can find it real quick. I don't want to be shuffling through papers here, but office shall increase. God, I can't believe this is so blatantly obvious, and I hope Colorado citizens are fighting back on this one. The office shall increase the awareness of and educate the general public about state and federal laws and existing resources relating to gun violence, there it is, gun violence prevention, including the following: the availability of and the process for requesting an extreme risk protection order. In other words, they want to teach the public how to turn in their neighbors. Right? I read it. Is that what it sounded like?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Am I making this up? It's all right here in the bills, and Colorado citizens need to be aware of this stuff.
Hopefully they're watching.
Hopefully we'll try to get it. We'll try to get it to them. It's heinous what these anti-gun leftists do.
They don't like good guys.
No.
It appears.
No.
Because they're the only ones that are getting punished. Because nobody gets punished by these laws except the people that are already obeying the law.
The problem is nobody reads these laws.
Right,
Nobody reads these bills, and they don't know how serious this stuff is, and then they, whatever.
Right.
But then you got all the leftists voting for this stuff. The more of these Democrats they put in office in any state, Colorado's not the only one. New York. God, New York. But the more of these Democrats that we put into office, the more difficult it is, and unfortunately, I hope this is a call to Republicans to get off their butts and vote.
I hope
like
so,
crazy.
because it's going to reach a tipping point where there's going to be no return, right? You're going to get enough people, and then if things change with immigration and you have new people voting and they make DC a state and you have more people voting, you're gonna slowly change that balance to the point where the good guys won't have a chance anymore, and that's what they want, I assume.
Well,
it seems
the open border is really not only to bring in more Democrat voters into the country, but I think it's also, a big part of the Democrat plan is to really just destroy Texas, because Texas is right there. Texas is getting the hell beat out of it with illegals, and if the Democrats can turn Texas blue, they'll be cheering in the streets. That'll be like killing the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah. And people are moving there from California, which I've seen license plates. Don't bring your politics here, whatever.
Exactly. Arizona's already having trouble.
I was talking to somebody in Arizona last night saying the same thing.
So if people understand that that's why the Democrats are trying to keep this border open, is really to just create more blue states. That's really what it is. So, but then you got people moving from blue states to other states. So it's not like Republicans are going away. Everyone's kind of moving around right now.
They're seeking refuge from the nonsense, but the problem is I think where you're going with that is that as more Republicans move out, the blue majority grows in a lot of these states, right? Hopefully they can have an influence on the states that they move to, but usually they're moving to states that are already a little more reasonable to start out with, right?
Yeah.
Southern states that we all talk about all the time.
Yep. Yeah, there's still a lot of good southern states, and unfortunately, some of them are having struggles with Democrats in office. But like Arkansas is dealing with Asa Hutchins, and Alabama's always having
Republicans who aren't acting like Republicans.
Well, right. But what was I going to say? I had something else.
Southern states, Republicans, Democrats.
This is terrible. This is terrible. I can't think. But anyway, so that's where we're at with that, and I hope that I know. Are we getting close to? Where are we? Okay, so we are getting close to taking a break because I got two other things that I want to talk about, but I don't think we're gonna have time. We're gonna wait till after the break. So
what
one
else?
thing? One thing that I just remember. One thing I wanted to say. The good news is in the gun world is that we now have 20 constitutional carry states. 20 states that don't require a license to carry. So it's good news because we have some governors. I want to get Anthony's opinion on this because I know Anthony's a gun owner too, but there's some governors who are saying no more. It's not fair to be charging people and giving them a government issued permission slip to carry a gun. What are your thoughts, Anthony? Let's get Anthony in on this.
It's true. I mean, it's expensive to get a permit in New York State.
Yeah,
it costs me well over $300. Luckily, I live in a county where it doesn't take a year to get a permit.
Yeah,
but we shouldn't be doing this anyway. I shouldn't be charged. I shouldn't have to go in front of a judge and state my case why I should be able to carry and conceal.
Right.
Much easier to get a free ID, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, apparently, according to the Democrats, black people can't get IDs. I don't understand.
But for some reason, in some cities, they obviously have guns because it's terrible.
I hope that black people are really starting to understand what the Democrats are doing to them and how the Democrats are using them.
Absolutely. For generations.
And I have a lot of black friends, and these are very, very smart, intelligent people, and they're on the right. Well, that's why they're smart. They're on the right.
That's why they're your friends.
That's why they're my friends. Well, exactly. Yeah, I don't care what color you are. If you're a leftist, I want nothing to do with you. I don't even think I could have a conversation. But if you're on the right and you hold the same values and beliefs that I do, Constitution, Bill of Rights, freedom, capitalism, the family, the family, American dream.
Yep.
And
that's all that Republicans really care about. You don't have to have a lot of qualifications. You just got to basically follow the rules and not do things that hurt other people
and appreciate what we have here in America. How could you want socialism or communism when you have this wonderful, beautiful experiment in self-government where the people have the power over the government, and you're out there picketing to give that up?
Right.
What the hell is wrong with these?
Disband the police. We don't need protection.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
We got to go to break, but this is infuriating. All right, take a quick break. We'll be right back. We got so much more.
I'm Danny Watts Jr., producer of The Loaded Mic. I just wanted to let you know that you can find us at Simul TV, Right America Media, YouTube, and Rumble. You can also find the podcast at Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Or you can go to loadedmic.com. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a review.
The Second Amendment is a priority at the Loaded Mic. If we don't defend the right to keep and bear arms, there are people who are happy to violate it. The strategies and tactics of the anti-gun crowd and politicians are sinister, and we need to understand those tactics. I wrote the Good Gun, Bad Guy book series as the rule book to their evil game, so we can understand their strategies and motives to defeat them. Understand the mindset of the anti-gunner in Book 1. Learn the media strategies behind the gun grab in Book 2. And understand the politics behind their mission in Book 3. Go to goodgunbadguy.com.
Oh, are we on? I think I almost fell asleep because my Pillow slippers are so comfortable. John, did you hear about the My Pillow slippers?
I'm sure they're super comfy.
Well, by now you've all heard me talk about My Pillow, and now Mike has done it again by introducing his new My Slippers, John Chiara. And he's taken over 2 years to develop these slippers, and they're designed to wear indoors and outdoors all day long. Made with MyPillow foam and impact gel to help prevent fatigue. Made with quality leather suede. What do you think of that so far?
I think that they should make inserts for Converse sneakers for people with flat feet. There's probably
Where does this come from?
Huge
Anthony?
market. Well, you're wearing Converse sneakers.
I
right?
always wear Converse.
Well, you were talking about I thought you had the slippers on your
I
feet.
have flat feet. I can't wear an arch. So thank you for announcing that to the entire world. Okay, good.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. But so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they should make those. Anyway, let me get back. This is ridiculous. Let me get back to this.
Good suggestions for his product line, I think. Diversification is always
Can't work
good.
with this guy.
I'm the hose man. Look out.
Oh, my God. All right, so here we go. For a limited time, Mike is offering 40% off his new My Slippers. Okay? So the My Slippers are so comfortable that you'll want to get some for the whole family. Go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, and use the promo code RAM, like RAM. You'll get deep discounts on all the MyPillow products, and there's a ton of products. Danny Wass Jr., our producer, has the MyPillow towel set, correct?
Yes.
And what do you think? And what do you think of it? He gives it the thumbs up.
Awesome.
Definitely. I personally have the Giza Dream Sheets, and but there's all sorts of stuff. There's also the My Pillow top mattress topper, My Pillow towel sets, like we said, and you can also call 1-800-867-0416. That's 800-867-0416. Isn't that close to 867-5309?
Right next to it,
867. Yeah. 867-0416. Use the promo code RAM. Okay.
Well, just as a reference to that, I just searched My Pillow slippers on Facebook and got an error message. Oh. Because he's not allowed. Him and Trump are.
Well, okay, so that's a good point. Since we're on the topic of My Pillow and Mike Lindell, you know what? I think his products are fantastic, but even if they weren't, I would support him just because he's conservative. The company supports conservative values, and just the idea that Facebook would ban him makes me want to buy the products. So,
well, that's the byproduct of all this stuff that people don't understand, I think. It's the whiplash.
Yeah. Yep. And I hope the company does even better now. And plus, by getting involved with President Trump, I think they're probably going to do some really cool stuff here moving forward. So, okay. So My Pillow, I hope that was entertaining. It was an entertaining live read, I hope, but buy the products because the products are fantastic and it supports a good cause. Okay. So let's talk about the California driver who hurled racial abuse at a cop. Okay. Are you aware of this?
She's a piece
Anthony,
of
are you aware of this?
I'm aware.
Okay. So let's watch the clip. Danny Wass Jr. is going to hit that clip for us, and we'll be right back to talk about it.
I pulled you over because
you're a murderer.
Because
yes, I started to record because
you can't
you're a murderer.
You can't be on your cell phone while you're driving.
I wasn't texting or none of that.
Do you have that picture?
You scared me and made me think you were going to murder me.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Well, that's not just a feeling. You're a murderer.
Okay. Can you zoom in on that for me,
Sure.
dear? Thank you.
And I'm perfectly legal And I'm a teacher. So there.
Congratulations.
Murderer. You're a murderer.
What's your last name? I can't see that there.
Well,
If
here you
stop,
go,
Stop
murderer.
shaking. Zoom in on that for
No,
me,
because
man.
you're scaring me.
Oh,
You're threatening to kill me and my son. Can you give me
Okay.
the
Well,
iPad,
I'll
please?
tell you what. You keep smiling. You're on camera.
You're trying to threaten to kill me.
I
I'm not
didn't say that.
smiling. You're the one who's.
Hold that still. I can't see that. Is this your car?
Yes, it is. And you're trying to say I stole my own car because you're jealous?
Yeah,
Is that what
I don't
that's
think
about?
so. You wait for me right here, okay?
You're jealous?
Citation. All you need to do is your signature. He's only citing you for using your cell phone while you're driving. That's it.
There you go, ma'am. Sign inside the
For,
red
being
box
a,
right
for
there.
him being a Mexican racist. What is that name?
It's on the
Gasso.
citation, ma'am.
Here you go, Mexican racist. You're always going to be a Mexican. You'll never be white. You know that, right? You'll never be white, which is what you really want to be.
So
amazing, right?
I made some notes. Now, the interesting thing about this is she's obviously been misled, brainwashed to hate cops. She's full of hate. She's just a crazy woman. She belongs actually in a straitjacket as far as I'm concerned. She said things like, "You're a murderer." The cop, you can tell the cop, he's like so cool and so calm. He's like,
I don't know how he kept.
He's
his
like,
cool.
"Ma'am, you really you're using your cell phone and just giving you a ticket or whatever." She says he's harassing her. He scared her. I mean, can you believe this stuff?
She thought he was going to murder her and her son.
Oh, yeah. Quote, she said, "Threatening to kill me and my son. You're threatening to kill." I watched the whole thing. I didn't see anything like that. Did she? Did she?
I didn't hear him say anything like that. All I heard was like a really calm guy just trying to
He
give her
kept
a
saying,
simple
"I'm sorry you feel
cell
that
phone
way."
ticket.
I don't know how these cops deal with some of these
Well,
lunatics.
Crowder said if he was there, he would have ran by the car and yelled, "Gun, gun!"
Oh,
that would have created a problem.
Well, the sad part about this is she's a California school teacher. She's a school teacher. This lunatic is teaching kids in California. California's done. I can't.
I don't know how they're going to.
How can they ever
move forward
if their kids are being taught this crap? Okay, so let me finish. Our producer, Danny Wass Jr., tells us that the cop bought his own body camera, which was an interesting fact. Because I guess apparently the police department didn't have the body cameras, so he bought his own to protect himself from stuff like this.
Right.
And wasn't there a reference to Chauvin, Danny? What are you talking about? Oh, I think the point was that Chauvin had some accusations in his past about being
right. He had some
whatever to people he
On
pulled
his
over
record,
or whatever,
he
on
had,
his
yeah,
record.
yeah.
So, but if Chauvin had a body camera on all those cases, I wonder if
Well, if you got somebody saying, "Hello, the policeman pulled me over today and threatened to kill me and my son."
Yeah.
What do you do with that? How is that fair to the cop? No matter what happened, that's ridiculous.
I mean, and I suppose you'd have to. The police department would document that and
Absolutely.
put it
It'd be
down
on his record,
On his
right?
record, right?
Ridiculous.
She goes on to say things like, "This was ridiculous." She said, "You're trying to say I stole my own car because you're jealous." And the guy, he didn't say anything to the anything.
She didn't have her driver's license.
You're trying to say I stole my own car because you're jealous. She used the word jealous a couple times in that thing. And you know, this is the really interesting part to me. Okay, so all this stuff, she's obviously a cop hater. She wasn't white. I don't know if she was either black or Hispanic, but she was definitely dark skinned. And this was the interesting piece. She said, and we talk about projection all the time.
I know.
Sigmund Freud talks about, let me preface this whole thing. Sigmund Freud talks about projection as where you're blaming other people for the thoughts that are going on in your head, right? So whatever, I'm blaming you, John.
Right.
You know.
Well, she's thinking that if I was a cop and I drove up to some woman on her cell phone, I would be there to threaten to kill her and her son.
That's what she's thinking.
That's what she's thinking.
But it gets even worse than that, because toward the end, she calls him a Mexican racist. Now, What the hell is it?
We needed a third party with a wide angle camera on this because I would love to have seen what was going on there. What was the kid doing in the car? First of all,
Yeah.
the kid's probably in there going, "Oh my god!"
Yeah. Well, and the kid's probably so brainwashed too. If his mother if that's his mother, can you imagine how he's got any?
It's terrible.
The kid can't have any sense.
That's
left.
child abuse.
She goes on. She calls him a Mexican racist, and this is where it really got interesting. And this is why I bring up Sigmund Freud's projection theory. She says, "Quote: You're always gonna be a Mexican. You'll never be white, which is what you really want to be."
Layer upon layer of projection. Not only one projection, many projections layered on top. And you can tell that she's thought this all out before, right? She didn't just make this up on the spot.
Well, just the idea that she could accuse him of wanting to be white tells you that in her mind, she must be thinking that process.
Top of her mind, tip of her tongue, popping right out. She had it all down, right?
And and the problem with people like this is and we all do this, is that we say things and we don't realize that we're revealing ourselves. That's the interesting thing about this. So let me repeat what she said. She said, "You're always going to be a Mexican. You'll never be white, which is what you really want to be." Really? Is that what he really wants to be? Or lady, California school teacher, is that what you really want to be? Because to me, it looked like she's accusing him of what she's thinking.
So what does she teach, I wonder? Do we know?
She teaches people how to be racist, cop haters, and irrational.
Because I'm sure that stuff like that comes out in class all the time. If she can't control herself any more than that, she's just...
Can you imagine in class what she's like? How'd you like her teaching your kid?
No.
That's
But imagine what she's going to do if she ever needs the police to help her.
See, that's the flip side.
Say she gets mugged and she gets shot or stabbed. What is she going to say to the cop that rolls up to the scene? "Oh, you're a white Mexican racist?" I mean, what is her?
But help me. But help me.
But help me.
But help me anyway.
I'm bleeding out. Help me.
But you're a murderer. But help me.
But help me.
Yeah.
Aren't you the woman that called me a murderer before?
Yeah. Imagine if she got the same cop.
Let me try to find my phone. Oh, gee, I don't know what I did with my phone.
Yeah. What are you bleeding out, lady? You're the one who called me a Mexican racist. What are you bleeding out?
Oh my God.
Let me get you a Band-Aid. Right? I mean, I know cops wouldn't do that. That's
They're not like that.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
So
I don't know how anybody sees anything other than what we're talking about in that situation. Like, who justifies that situation? Yeah. I would love to hear some people. I'm
try to argue that.
Maybe I'll start asking some people. Say, what do you think about this situation?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then to get back to that whole thing of what's going on in her head, her accusing him of what's actually going on in her head when she says jealous. It's clear to me from watching this that she is accusing him of being jealous of what? That she owns a car? I don't know.
I don't know.
Is he supposed to be jealous that she owns a car and
that she's not Mexican?
She says you're trying to say I stole my own car because you're jealous. Jealous of what? That he doesn't have a car?
I would have given her a drug test on the spot. Get out of the car.
Yeah.
Touch your nose.
It's those leftists that are the ones in society that we need to be concerned with. They're the ones that are acting like freaking lunatics. And they're going, I mean, look at the riots, look at the Antifa, look at the BLM groups, look at all this stuff going on, all these violent people. And nobody's talking about that because the Democrats have control of the media. But can you imagine if the media was fair and actually talked about this stuff? Democrats wouldn't have one vote.
Nope.
They wouldn't have one damn vote because people who could actually see, if just give us the data, like you say, give us the data, let us figure it out ourselves, but they don't do that. If mainstream media was to show this video as much as they showed I don't know. You name any Republican video that
The Capitol thing.
The Capitol thing, exactly.
Like that.
If they showed this video as much as they showed that, people would be going, wait a minute, something's wrong here. There's something going on that's really destructive and toxic within the ideology, within the thought process of left-wingers. Maybe we should start looking at what's going on with them psychologically. Something's wrong. And the more of these videos that we could see, that everybody could see in public, I think it would start to raise the red flag on the leftist ideology and shine a light where there's real mental and psychological damage being done.
Well, this is the whole thing with who's been talking? Well, Scott Adams been talking. Scott Adams the last few weeks been talking about how basically watching CNN causes brain damage because you're constantly bombarded with illogical, mantras that you take on as your own, and you start not thinking for yourself. Like that woman.
Yeah.
She was just spouting stuff she's heard before. How would she come up with that on her own?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know all this stuff about this person you've never met before?
He's a Mexican racist.
I don't know what that means.
That's new.
Have you ever heard Mexican racist
I have
before?
never heard that.
What is a Mexican race?
Who's he racist towards?
Yeah. She's black. She looked black anyway in the video, and she called him Mexican. He did sound Hispanic. So he's a Mexican racist. I would really love to talk to her. I know the conversation. You could never have a conversation with her.
Now when Trump questioned Judge Alito there, whatever his name was, back in the day, because he was of Mexican heritage, he was instantly a racist, and he was condemned for that, forever and ever and ever. Another one of those things that went on forever and ever about how, look at Trump, he said this, therefore he feels this way. What about this woman? Where does she come from? Well, how do we categorize her?
That's what we should talk about. That's the stuff that's interesting to me. Where does she come from? How did this happen to her? How did these thoughts get in her head?
I wonder how old she was, too. We don't know. Wonder if she's like 30 years old and a school teacher. She might have been taught by people that thought like her. That could probably be.
If I were to guess, I'd say maybe late 30s. I'm just guessing, but where does that come from? Like, how does somebody become that hateful toward cops and have that idea that it was a racist situation, first of all? How can one minority group be racist against, I guess it's possible, but how can, she's basically saying that now Mexicans are racist against blacks. Is that what she's saying? She's called him a Mexican racist.
Wondering what she actually is. This is why we need the wide angle camera.
Trying to figure it out.
We need the bigger camera views so we can see what the heck was going on. But again, that ideology that she's professing, how is that useful? How does that go forward in the world and make us all come together as a country?
It doesn't. But it's fueled by hatred, I believe.
She shouldn't have a gun.
I think that what the Democrats and the media are doing to people is heinous. They're creating a hatred in our society that is just, it's not fair to anybody. It's destructive, and it further divides. But I think that's what they're going for, is a division. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's working. It's definitely working. I mean, you see it on TV every day. You only see that side, though. You don't see our side. You only see the left side. So nobody wants to hear the right side. That's why you're here.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're talking about it, because it's important. And
Listen, all you and I and our followers. That's why we're here today.
Well, and the problem is our show won't get as many views as CNN, but the good news is that there's this grassroots uprising of shows like this that are coming out of nowhere. Conservative talk, conservative shows, and people who want to speak the truth and who aren't afraid.
And there has to be, because like we said, if people are getting banned from social media platforms, we have no choice, right? You got to speak up in whatever way you can. What are you gonna, I mean, if you care about stuff, and obviously there's a lot of people that do care about stuff. I think that, like when I talked about last week about how the hard hurdle might be that there's a lot of older Republicans that really don't want to get involved in this because they've never had to get involved in any kind of activism before.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now that the other side is pounding everybody so bad that the only thing we have is we have to push back, right? Because if we don't, they'll just run rampant over everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it gets tiring to fight back all the time.
Yeah, and it's a waste of time because we could be doing so many better things. We could be doing so much more productive stuff in our lives. I mean, who the hell wants to?
Speaking of which, and there's two new books out this week too, I think, too. And Jordan Peterson interviewed a couple people, and there's a lot of books coming out that are showing how the world is getting better and better and better, and it has been for at least a generation in all measurable ways. But that's never talked about. Only the negative stuff that the news basically trumps up from little tiny examples. You know, a person gets shot over here, therefore guns all over the world are evil, and we should do something about that. As opposed to, 133,000 people a day are being lifted out of poverty by,
is that what it is?
By capitalism.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter, right? This is why, and this is a scale thing that kills me too, because I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying about, you know, how our policies should be this way, talking about climate policies and talking about energy and things like that. And I'm like, okay, imagine you make $2 a day, and because of an energy policy where you're able to get access to energy, you can now make $4 a day. Would your life change if your income doubled? And they just, well, what if your income doubled, just instantly doubled? Would that have any effect on anything? Your whole world would change.
These people who push for this stuff are already, they must be financially set, whether they're parasites or whatever the heck.
Or government workers.
Yeah, or government parasites or whatever, government welfare, whatever. They got some money coming in because they got their Starbucks and they got their whatever.
Cell phones and Priuses.
Cell phones and Priuses. My God. Every time I see a Prius, I want to run it over. Is that wrong?
No, it's fun.
You think of our friend.
It's fun.
It's fun.
I've
never done it, but probably could be fun.
And I've got a pretty big truck. I think I could probably run it. I could.
Yeah, what's that saying? Don't dodge it, ram it.
That's right. Yeah.
It's
too bad that the rioters throughout 2020 weren't all riding around in little Priuses. Then come through
monster trucks going to run right over.
Monster trucks, yeah.
But isn't it funny how the rioters don't spread COVID? Right?
That's a whole nother layer of nonsense.
Isn't that a whole nother layer of silliness?
Yeah.
Like they're out with like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people out riding across the country, but they're not spreading COVID.
I wonder how that happens.
Don't you dare have a crowd for a concert. Don't you dare. Like in New York City, the hardcore show. They had a huge hardcore show last week in New York City with 5,000 people with no mask. De Blasio had a heart attack. They want to go after him. But they just said, we're done. We're done. We're having a concert. We don't care.
Good.
Right?
You gotta push back in some way, right? I don't know how else to do it.
I can't believe like states like ours, like New York, where there's still, you know, we talk about where I'm from. I live in Saratoga Springs, New York, and I'll drive through town, and I can't even.
People walking their dogs wearing masks.
Walking their dogs alone in town with masks on. What the hell is wrong with
I
these
just
people?
thought about you on the way up when I stopped for coffee at a local convenience store, and there was a kid standing at the checkout with no mask on. Young kid, probably in his early 20s. And the lady says, "Do you have a mask?" He says, "I have really bad asthma, and if I wear a mask, I'll get an asthma attack." And I'm like, that's the way.
What did she say?
She said, "Okay." He got his stuff and walked out. It was
That's
perfect.
It. So I guess people make
that's a good line. Use that.
People still live in a mask state, they say that. Just tell them you have asthma. You know, if that's what you have to do, you have to do.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So what other stuff we got?
Well,
here?
the other thing is, I don't know how much time we have left, but I do have at least this one more thing that we. Okay. Well, we'll do it quick. There was a juror on the Chauvin jury.
52? Is that his number?
52. And there's concerns about him because he was found in pictures and stuff wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt. And he actually had some quotes. The juror's name is Brandon Mitchell. He's 31, who is black. Could be seen in the photo wearing the T-shirt with a picture of Martin Luther King and the phrases, quote, "get your knee off our neck," end quote, and, quote, BLM. He's also wearing a Black Lives Matter hat in the photo. I'm sure by now everyone's seen the photo, but here it is. We'll put that photo up there for you so you can see it. Mitchell was the first member of the jury that convicted Chauvin of murdering George Floyd to publicly comment on the trial. Okay, so it goes on to talk about that a little bit. It also, there was one thing that was interesting. There were a couple questions that they asked him. During the jury selection process, each prospective juror is required to answer a questionnaire that includes questions about participation in demonstrations and protests. The question was, did you or someone close to you participate in any of the demonstrations or marches against police brutality that took place in Minneapolis after George Floyd's death? One question read, according to the newspaper. The other asked, other than what you have already described above, have you or anyone close to you participated in protests about police use of force or police brutality? And Mitchell told the Tribune that he replied no to both questions.
That's on the questionnaire when you're being chosen for the jury.
I think so.
Yes.
And then there was another thing that said, I think this was a quote from him. I think I was being extremely honest for sure, Mitchell said of the jury selection process. I gave my views on everything, on the case, on Black Lives Matter. Just the idea that this guy was out there protesting.
And he ends up on the jury?
Yeah.
That's weird. Maybe they were just hoping for a mistrial, and that's why they let all this stuff happen. That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe.
The defense just probably said, we can't win this first time around. Then if we do, there'll be riots. So let's let it go through, and then we'll appeal, and maybe it won't be so bad.
Well, it says, meanwhile, civil rights attorney Brian Dunn told the Washington Post that the photo is undeniably suggestive of a possible bias in this juror. If it's determined that the juror did not provide full disclosure to the defense, the question then becomes whether this lack of candor violated Mr. Chauvin's right to a fair trial, Dunn said.
And that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, didn't he also state at some afterwards that, if people have to get on juries, that they want to see change in the world that they want to be a part of and stuff, which is like, that's got nothing to do with being on a jury.
Right. I didn't see that, but you're right. That has nothing to do with. It was directly related to MLK's march. Oh, there was something else. Mitchell told the newspaper his uncle had posted the photo to social media. And that's that photo you saw earlier. So, anyway, so there you have it. You've got not only that, but you've got Anthony's a big fan of Maxine Waters. Maxine Water.
Yeah, she's my favorite. I'm having a T-shirt made right now with her face on it.
She's your favorite. Is she your favorite Democrat?
Yeah, she's my favorite.
Well, you remember what she said, right?
Oh yeah.
She was out there saying, we need to basically ramp up the violence and the rhetoric.
Hi. So Americans, right? I don't get it.
So how can this case not be?
It's going to be interesting to watch because I don't. It'll be interesting to watch, and it'll be pretty telling to watch to see if the actual justice system can sort this out and do the right thing, whatever the right thing is. I don't know, But if there's going to be an appeal, hopefully we'll find out more information than we already have.
Well, how could you not overturn this decision, knowing that one of the jurors was tainted, one of the jurors was biased? I mean, that right there, because if he wasn't, you may have had a different outcome. But we know for a fact
only takes one
that he was. I mean, wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt and being at one of the George Floyd protests, yet he's making a decision in the jury of what's going to happen to the cop's life. What's going to happen? How could it not get overturned?
Well,
it has to.
I think I don't know if they're going to have an appeal. Are they going to have it in the same city within choose from the same pool of people? Like, how does that work? How is he ever going to get a fair trial
never
there?
gonna get a
I'm not
fair
even
trial.
saying he's innocent of anything, but how is he going to get a fair trial there?
Not
Because
gonna
people
happen.
are afraid, right? Why
Doesn't
would you
matter
not
which
be
state.
afraid?
I mean, we'd have to send him to Australia to try and get a fair trial.
Australia's
I mean,
nice.
maybe they haven't heard of the stuff that's going on in our country, but
Yeah, where can we send them?
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
A lot of bands are going there, I hear.
Guatemala. Guatemala. Where did that come from? Guatemala.
I don't know, just Guatemala.
That's a
He's not gonna go Guatemala in case.
That's a funny. It is a funny name, Guatemala. It's like, can you say it?
I can say it, Guatemala.
Guatemala. It's funny. It's like saying salsa. Sounds funny, salsa or salsa. We got to go. Danny's giving us the wrap up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. See you later. Thanks so much for watching The Loaded Mic on YouTube, Rumble, Simul TV, and Right America Media. You can also catch the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. I'm Dan Wass. The Second Amendment is not a privilege, it's your right.
It is necessary to purge the establishment.
What she's suggesting that churches do, focus on.
That's not necessarily a good thing to start with.
They're stating
it wasn't around when we needed the greatest generation of the 30s or 40s.
It happened before the election because there's too many Republicans that are afraid that their wrongdoing is going to.
It's unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit here, stay silent, and not call it out. I'm calling out the lies.
Rules for Thanksgiving. Who the hell is he to tell us what we're supposed to do?
Do they think that we are so stupid that we will not notice and find out